meat of it, the nuts and bolts of whether or not something should be considered true or not. That's they're discussing,
That's
and
wrong.
that's no, it's true, and I've seen it many times. I've seen lots of debates happen where guys started debating evolution or theism or this, that, or the other, and they get so buried in talking about the details of philosophical ideas, nobody's ever discussing the subject is gone,
Well, the
and
fact that
that's the problem with philosophy.
no, that's the fact that people don't understand doesn't mean
No, it's
that
not that. It's not
just a
not.
minute,
It's
just a
not
minute,
not
just a
understanding.
minute. I wasn't done. The fact that there are people online who don't understand something doesn't mean philosophers don't understand it. So your ignorance,
But
it,
it's not about.
Yeah, but I mean
No,
that's what
no,
happens when you're
no.
met with a philosopher that doesn't understand something,
so
It's
right?
not
So
about not understanding. That's not it. It's just that they get so sidetracked in discussing
navel gazing.
philosophical details
well,
that they're no longer discussing the subject per se, and
well,
that's the problem.
no, you not understanding something doesn't
No, no,
mean
no. It's not
philosophers
about
don't.
me not
Excuse me,
understanding. No,
excuse me. I was talking.
it's not.
You not understanding, that philosophers do in fact address questions about truth
I mean,
and
we have to
epistemology.
address this in
Doesn't
a different
mean
way, though. Like which
doesn't mean
philosophers?
that doesn't mean that that has not been addressed by philosophers for like hundreds of years. They have.
Okay, that doesn't change anything about what I
I don't. I
said.
don't like the
Uh,
breadth of this because many different
what I
philosophers
said is
approach
it's
things
still
very
true.
differently, and they all have their own issues.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with how much or how little some about philosophy a particular person knows. It's what I said. They get sidetracked into to discussing the details of philosophy so much the subject gets buried, and I've seen it happen with lots of debates.
Yeah, again, you not understanding something doesn't indicate the state of philosophy.
Okay, that's not what I'm even talking about. I'm not talking about the state of philosophy. Okay, I'm talking
So,
about the fact that when people engage in debates about subject matter, sometimes they get so buried in. You're not. If you don't believe this happens, that's fine. You're welcome to
no,
believe
I
it doesn't
understand. I
happen.
understand that
Okay,
people. I understand
but
that
it
people
does, and
get.
it doesn't have anything to
Excuse
do
me.
with whether or not somebody understands
Well,
uh,
you don't,
something
but
or
uh,
not.
I mean, there's a lot
What
of
it
like
has to do with
concepts.
I
is
mean,
just
I
being
understand,
buried
but
in the
you don't.
details.
You don't
No,
understand. Other
no.
people
What you
do.
don't understand is that what I said is true, and it doesn't have anything to do with how much
No.
or little
Yeah.
philosophy somebody understands.
Well, your inability to understand
No,
a
it.
conversation about
Oh my God.
epistemology
Okay.
doesn't indicate the state of epistemology and philosophy. These are different
No,
things.
it. I'm trying to help you understand
The state of
something, but you're not.
philosophy
You're
is
having real
indicated by the state
trouble.
of philosophy.
I'll say
That's
it
right.
one last time. It doesn't have anything to do with how much or little philosophy somebody knows. That's not what I'm talking
Well,
about. Okay,
yeah,
it
yeah, it
doesn't have
actually
to do with
does. It
me
actually
being
does.
ignorant or
Look,
knowledgeable.
philosophical
No,
navel gazing is incredibly
what it
common
has to
because we
be
have a
do
lot of philosophical
with
terms that can be applied correctly. We have
Yeah, they're
what
not
people that
difficult.
literally established entire schools
it's
of
not about
thought that are
that.
dedicated to individual philosophical works that use very concise nomenclature, right? We have a lot, like the Chicago School, for example, lot of Wittgensteinians there, and a lot of people that incorporate a lot of Kantian work in there. So, this type of navel gazing is obviously super prevalent in all of philosophy. It doesn't. I don't know. I wouldn't exactly agree with you that it buries the concepts in philosophy, but at the same time, there is still this thing where these people, right? I mean, a perfect example of this is Robert Brandom, right? Someone that incorporates Kant, Hegel, and Rorty, and this kind of distancing themselves away from analytic philosophy and inventing new terms, right? That is a huge barrier that is made. And then you have like this system that is so specific to very specific context that it almost gets lost in the event itself. It's
Yeah, but
Well,
spectacular,
let me
but it
give you
gets
an
lost in
the
the
example of
event.
what I'm
issue,
talking about. Here's an example. Let's say somebody
Then
is
you don't get to
talking
the meat.
about
But there are theories of
what.
everything, though. There
Let's say
are
somebody
very
is talking
concise,
about
yeah,
huge
yeah,
theories
whether
that
or not
deal
you
not
should
only with technology
understand
but also
something
metaphysics.
because of the inference. Okay, somebody might say this is the best conclusion based on the inference from the evidence. The preponderance of evidence points to A being true, and then the other guy says, "Well, what is inference, and how do we conclude that we're making a proper inference?" And then that's when the ball starts rolling, and it just goes down, 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 down into more and more and more philosophy, and you don't ever get back to whether or not something is actually a strong inference or not based
Well,
on evidence. See, and
I would
inferences
really
that's the
agree. Yeah.
problem
inferences
that I
I
was
would
are pretty
heavily
talking
agree
well
with
about.
you.
And the
inferences are well
subject gets
defined.
and the
Yeah, that never
subject, excuse me,
happens.
and the subject gets completely sidetracked into detailed discussions about philosophy and never to the meat of the problem, which is whether or not something is supported by the preponderance of evidence. See?
Yeah, that's wrong. Inferences are pretty
No,
well
that's absolutely
understood. No,
correct.
it's wrong.
No,
People
my example
inferences.
was just an example.
Excuse me. I'm talking.
You're
Inferences.
one
Excuse
ignorant
me.
son of a bitch. I'm
Excuse
gonna tell
me.
you. I'm gonna go
Excuse
get
me.
something to eat.
Yeah, excuse me. Inferences are pretty well understood. You can get a basic level of the understanding of epistemology from any undergraduate text, and you can do extremely well in these discussions. What happens is you get both atheists and not and theists who don't have an understanding of elementary epistemology, who don't know what they're talking about, who get sidetracked, and who or people like Nephilim Free who have an agenda, which is to not understand epistemology in order to push their religious ideology, and they have an incentive to not understand what a proper inference is. It's not difficult. Making inferences is
But we
not
say
difficult.
technology as though it's not a conversation,
No,
right? It's a
let me
conversation.
give,
Hold on, wait.
let's give an example.
No,
We
can
can
you
actually
please
make
shut
an
the fuck up
example.
and I want nobody to interrupt Brenda and Neff at the moment, please.
Let me give you a perfect
Oh,
example.
okay. I see what's
Let's
going on.
say that I say that A is true. If we are to accept the preponderance of evidence, we have the inference that A is true. And somebody starts talking about, well, what is a proper inference and all that. The thing is, now you're talking about what inferences are instead of the
Yeah,
evidence.
yeah.
That's
So,
the point. Okay.
well, it's important to know.
So,
It's important to know what the inference is.
but let me finish. So let's do that, shall we? Okay, I'm going to make a claim, and you dig into the details of philosophy while I talk about the evidence, and we'll see who's actually talking about something that actually sticks with the subject. Let's do that, shall we? Okay, so I'll make a statement. I'll make a statement that the existence of there is powerful evidence for the existence of non-physical minds. Okay, and because God is a non-physical mind, and we have non-physical minds because God gave them to us. Now, the supernatural exists if human beings have non-physical minds. If humans have non-physical minds, then we have evidence of spirit. If we have evidence of spirit, evolution theory, philosophical materialism of atheism is not true, because we have something that's supernatural as existence. So I can evidence of the spirit is supported by the evidence for non-physical minds. Okay, that's and the evidence shows that humans have a non-physical mind. Now you make your argument and you just use philosophy instead of anything else.
Yeah. Did you have a conclusion?
Yeah, the conclusion is the philosophical materialism of atheism is incorrect.
Yeah, you're
I
begging.
thought I said that already.
You
Arguments are so gay. I don't even know how anyone can look at an argument and be like,
You were told to be quiet, dude.
You're begging the question, Nephilim. You're begging the question because you presupposed immaterial minds to begin with, and then you use the fact of immaterial
No.
minds to conclude. You use the existence of immaterial minds to conclude that materialism is false, and because you presuppose that immaterial minds exist, that you presupposed it. So you're begging the question.
No, I don't. I don't presuppose. As I said, there is powerful evidence for the existence.
No, that's a claim. That's an unsupported claim. Then make the case for your
No, I
unsupported
say it
claim.
is supported. So
No,
let's discuss the evidence.
Making a claim is not a support.
You proved my point already. You're digging into ideas about claims while I'm telling you I have evidence,
Well,
and you won't discuss
you
the
making a
evidence.
claim isn't
You
an
failed
argument.
already. You made my
making-
point.
You
We're
making a
done.
claim isn't
I
an
taught you
argument.
something tonight.
No,
I
you
taught you
didn't.
something.
No,
Yeah.
no, you didn't. You
You
taught
learned
me.
something.
I
And it
learned
didn't take 20 seconds, and you learned.
that you don't know how to make an argument.
You blew it.
Yeah, simply saying that we have
Everybody
evidence.
in the room knows you did.
Excuse me, Nephilim. You said that we have evidence for immaterial minds, and you didn't support that claim, but you used that claim to derive your conclusion that materialism is false because we have immaterial minds.
No,
But
I said I have evidence, and you won't discuss
didn't
that.
cite you didn't cite any evidence. What's your
I didn't
evidence?
say I cited any. I said I have evidence.
Yeah,
And
I don't
instead
care.
of discussing that
Where's your-
evidence,
Cite it.
you're
Cite it.
digging into philosophy.
Fine, cite your evidence.
You've already failed. I made my point
No,
already.
no, you haven't. Cite your evidence.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about something other than the evidence, you see? Because you
No,
want to
I'm
dig into
asking.
philosophy.
I'm
You
asking
made
for
my
the
point
evidence.
perfectly.
I'm
Already
asking
over
for
with.
the
I
evidence.
taught you something today.
I'm asking for the evidence, and you won't.
Oh,
give
now
it.
you are because you see the mistake you made.
I've
See?
been
I
asking
won't.
for like 3 minutes now. I've been asking you to give the
No,
evidence.
you went straight to philosophy and discussing. You don't inference. What is inference and that kind of crap? That's not what I was talking. I was talking about evidence. You want to talk philosophy. I want
No.
to talk evidence. See, that's
Yeah.
where you made your mistake.
I showed that your argument was not valid because you begged the question.
No, you didn't do any such thing.
I
didn't
did.
provide
I
any
did.
evidence. I simply
Yes.
said I have evidence.
Yes, you made a
And you went
claim.
straight to philosophy about what is inference. And I told you you'd do
Yes.
it before you did.
No, you
and
made
you
a
failed.
claim. You made a claim.
You
which
learned
contained-
something today,
You
Carol.
made a claim which contained your conclusion, right? Because you concluded that on the fact that we have immaterial minds, God must exist, but you presuppose the existence of immaterial minds. You simply stated
No, I just stated a
unsupported.
thesis.
Yes, you stated an unsupported claim that we
I
have
just stated a
evidence.
thesis. That's all.
Yeah, so
I
you don't
stated
know.
a thesis.
So this is
We
why.
didn't even get to discuss the evidence that I say I have.
Go
because
ahead.
You
Go
buried
ahead.
yourself straight into philosophy.
Go
I told
ahead.
you you'd do that.
You're invited. You're invited.
You
The
learned
door is
something
open.
today.
Go ahead. Go
So my
ahead.
statement that digging deeply into philosophy often results in people never getting around to having a decent discussion or debate about whether or not something should be believed or not is true.
I'm waiting for the evidence. Go ahead.
And you learned why people make this mistake when digging deeply into philosophy.
I'm waiting for
because
the evidence. The door
they
is
do
open.
exactly what I said they do.
The door is open. You are graciously invited to provide the evidence.
It's
for your
over
claim.
already. It's already over. You proved my point. You didn't take 30 seconds to do it.
No, I'm waiting for the evidence.
It's too late. You proved my point.
What are you, a child?
No,
It's
it's
like
not
a
a
little-
debate. It was an
like a
example
child.
to prove the point. You proved it so fast, my head's spinning. I'm done.
Yeah. So this is why you have run into these problems online. It's because you don't understand how to make an argument, or even what a difference is between a sound
I don't want
and
to
a valid
debate it.
argument is. Yes, you don't want to debate.
I don't
You
want
wanna
to
pr-
debate it.
I know you don't. You
I
wanna
brought it up
preach.
as a way to prove
I
my
know.
point.
You
and,
wanna-
and I made my point.
You
You
don't.
buried yourself immediately in the philosophy. What's an inference and how do we know they're true? And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the evidence. But
You're
you
not
didn't want
talking
to go
about
there.
inferences. I thought the
You
subject
failed
was
already.
inferences. I thought the subject
You
was
proved
inferences.
my point. You proved my point.
Do you want to talk about inferences or the evidence? Which one is it?
Listen carefully to me. This will be the third time I've said it. I don't want to debate it. I only wanted to make a point, and I did.
But you failed.
Oh God! Listen, if you really think I failed, then you've got issues.
So this is why, Nephilim, why you run into these problems online, because you don't understand how to make
I
arguments.
don't run
or
into
how to-
problems online.
or how to make.
I mean, that's just a lie. Come on. You do.
What the hell are you talking about? I don't run into problems online.
You always have a good time online. You never run into any issues. Come on. Fuck it.
I have lots